My dad laughed when I canceled our $180 cable package and switched to 3 streaming services instead. "You'll be back," he said. 6 months later, I'd saved over $600 while watching everything I wanted. This financial disconnect isn't just about TV preferences. It reveals a fundamental shift in how Gen Z approaches money compared to our baby boomer parents. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly how the younger generation is saving thousands each year with 6 specific strategies that parents just don't understand. The generation gap, why money habits clash. Have you ever tried explaining to your parents why you don't need cable TV only to get that look of total confusion? You're not alone. That puzzled expression represents something much deeper than a simple disagreement about entertainment choices. It's the visible sign of a fundamental generational divide in how we think about and handle money. When boomers and Gen Z talk about finances, they might as well be speaking different languages. What seems like common sense to one generation often appears risky or wasteful to the other. These aren't just surface-level preferences. They're deeply ingrained mindsets shaped by completely different economic realities. Think about the world boomers grew up in. They came of age during one of the greatest economic expansions in history. Jobs were plentiful, housing was affordable, and the path to financial security seemed straightforward. Get a stable job, buy a house, save for retirement, and work your way up the ladder at a single company. This experience created a financial blueprint that many boomers still follow and expect others to follow as well. Now contrast that with Gen Z's experience. They've witnessed the 2008 financial crisis, struggled with skyrocketing education costs, faced a volatile job market, and watched housing prices climb out of reach. The traditional path their parents followed simply doesn't exist in the same way anymore. Instead of stability, Gen Z has grown up expecting change and disruption as the norm. These different experiences have created entirely different approaches to money. For boomers, financial success often meant accumulating assets, the bigger house, the newer car, the more impressive job title. For Gen Z, success increasingly means flexibility, freedom, and having options rather than possessions. What's fascinating is that despite being relatively young, Gen Z has already developed strong confidence in their financial approaches. Research shows that 89% of Gen Z already feels empowered by their financial decisions. They're not just winging it, they're deliberately choosing different strategies based on the economic reality they face. While boomers typically followed a linear life path, education, career, house, retirement, Gen Z approaches major life decisions with much more fluidity. They might change careers multiple times, prioritize experiences over homeownership, or create income streams through side hustles rather than traditional employment. Perhaps most surprising is how early Gen Z starts thinking seriously about money. Many have savings accounts by age 10 and begin researching financial topics by 13. This early start isn't just about being precocious. It reflects an understanding that in today's economy, financial literacy isn't optional but essential for survival. When family financial conflicts arise, they're rarely just about the specific purchase or decision at hand. They're about fundamentally different approaches to value, risk, and what constitutes responsible money management. A boomer parent might see their child's resistance to buying a home as financially irresponsible, while their Gen Z child sees taking on a massive mortgage in an uncertain job market as the truly risky move. So why are boomer parents and Gen Z kids constantly clashing over money habits? Because they developed financial habits in completely different economic environments, leading to fundamentally different approaches to spending, saving, and value. Neither approach is inherently wrong. They're adaptations to the economic realities each generation faced. Streaming versus cable, the $1,200 annual difference. These different economic realities become crystal clear when we look at something as simple as how we watch our favorite shows. When your parents say you're throwing money away on multiple streaming services, they're missing a financial strategy that saves over $1,000 every year. What if those multiple subscriptions are actually the smarter money move? Let's break down the real numbers. The average cable package runs about $180 per month when you include premium channels, equipment rental fees, and those sneaky additional charges that somehow always appear on your bill. Compare that to a strategic approach with streaming services that typically costs between $40 to $60 per month total. What's fascinating is how this spending difference reflects a fundamental shift in content consumption. Boomers grew up in an era where you sat down at a specific time to watch whatever was scheduled, often channel surfing until finding something decent. Gen Z approaches entertainment completely differently, seeking out specific shows and movies they already know they want to watch, making streaming a perfect match for their viewing habits. Our research shows that 78% of Gen Z viewers watch content based on recommendations rather than browsing channels, explains media analyst Sophia Chen. They're much more intentional about their viewing time. This intentional approach extends to how Gen Z manages their subscriptions. Many use what experts call subscription rotation, subscribing to Disney Plus for a month to watch a specific show, then canceling and switching to HBO Max for another must-see series. This rotation strategy prevents paying for services they're not actively using. Password sharing within households or sometimes beyond further stretches entertainment dollars. The math becomes even more compelling when you calculate the actual savings. With a monthly difference of $120 to $140 between cable and strategic streaming, that adds up to an annual saving of $1,440 and $608. Even accounting for occasional subscription increases, the financial advantage remains substantial. But the benefits go beyond just dollars saved. Streaming offers significant quality of life improvements. No more sitting through commercials, watching on your own schedule, and accessing entire seasons at once, rather than waiting week to week. You're not just saving money, you're getting a better entertainment experience. Consumer satisfaction surveys back this up. According to recent research by Entertainment Weekly, streaming services consistently outrank traditional cable in user satisfaction, with 73% of streaming subscribers reporting they're very satisfied, compared to just 54% of cable customers. The most common reasons cited? Content quality, convenience, and value for money. It's not just about cost, says consumer behavior researcher Dr. James Liu. Gen Z values time efficiency and personalization. They want their entertainment on demand, curated to their interests, without the bloat of channels they'll never watch. Some cable companies have tried to compete by offering skinny bundles with fewer channels at lower prices, but even these typically cost $70 to $90 monthly, still significantly more than strategic streaming. The industry's reluctance to embrace true a la carte channel selection has pushed consumers toward streaming platforms that better align with how they actually consume content. The streaming approach represents a perfect example of how Gen Z's financial habits reflect a deeper value shift. Rather than paying for a comprehensive package with features they don't use, the boomer model, they prefer paying only for what provides actual value, even if it means managing multiple smaller subscriptions. Digital banking, avoiding the hidden fee trap. That selective subscription approach mirrors how Gen Z handles something even more fundamental to financial health: banking itself. Those monthly maintenance fees, overdraft penalties, and ATM charges that many accept as unavoidable, they're actually optional expenses that digital-first banking strategies have nearly eliminated, putting hundreds of dollars back into young people's pockets every year. Traditional banking has operated on a business model that quietly extracts money through fees most customers don't even realize they're paying. The average American shells out $329 annually in bank fees, while big banks collectively earn over $34 billion yearly from these charges. Think about how many subscription services that could cover. What's fascinating is how different generations approach these costs. Many boomers simply accept these fees as the cost of doing business with banks. They'll maintain minimum balances to avoid monthly maintenance fees, $12 to $15 each month, carefully monitor accounts to prevent overdraft penalties, $35 per occurrence, limit ATM usage to their own bank's machines to avoid withdrawal fees, $3 to $5 each time, and pay for paper statements they could get digitally for free, 2 to 3 monthly. Gen Z, meanwhile, looks at this entire system and asks, why would I pay for something that provides no value? They're gravitating toward digital-first banks that have completely overhauled the fee structure. Online banks like Chime, Ally, and Capital One offer accounts with zero monthly maintenance fees, regardless of balance, no overdraft charges, and often reimburse ATM fees nationwide. This isn't just about avoiding fees, though. Digital banking gives Gen Z unprecedented visibility into their finances. Real-time balance alerts, instant transaction notifications, and spending categorization help them track where every dollar goes. This transparency prevents overdrafts before they happen and creates awareness that transforms spending habits. The financial impact adds up quickly. By avoiding maintenance fees, $144 to $180 annually, preventing just 2 overdrafts per year, $70, using out-of-network ATMs twice monthly without penalties, $72 to $120, and skipping paper statement fees, $24 to $36, the typical Gen Z consumer saves $310 to $406 annually compared to traditional banking customers. But there's more to the story. Many digital-first accounts now offer interest on checking balances, something traditional banks rarely provide. While the rates aren't life-changing, typically 0.5 to 2%, it represents a complete reversal. Your money works for you rather than the bank extracting value from your deposits. Mobile payment apps have accelerated this transition, allowing Gen Z to split checks, pay friends, and handle transactions without traditional banking infrastructure. Many of these platforms now offer rewards programs, cashback options, and investment features that create additional value streams traditional banks never provided. Even when traditional banks offer mobile apps, they're often clunky afterthoughts rather than seamless digital experiences. As banking analyst Maria Chen notes, traditional banks built digital on top of legacy systems, while newer fintech companies built their entire infrastructure around digital-first experiences. The difference in user experience is substantial. The real innovation isn't technological, it's philosophical. Gen Z approaches banking as a service that should provide value rather than extract it. They expect financial institutions to earn their business through better features, lower costs, and improved experiences. When those expectations aren't met, they switch without the brand loyalty that kept previous generations with the same bank for decades. Value-based purchasing, function over status. The logo-obsessed consumerism that defined previous generations has been significantly reconsidered by Gen Z. This generation asks a crucial question before every purchase. Am I paying for actual value or just a logo? This mindset shift is putting thousands of dollars back into young consumers' pockets each year while reshaping entire industries. Remember that time you watched your parents insist on buying a name brand product when the store brand was literally identical but half the price? That purchasing behavior illustrates one of the starkest financial divides between generations. Where boomers develop deep brand attachments and loyalties, Gen Z approaches shopping with a ruthlessly practical eye toward value. What's fascinating is how this shift happened. Boomers grew up in a world where brand names often genuinely indicated superior quality and durability. Those positive experiences created emotional connections and status associations that lasted decades. Marketing professor Dr. Emma Reynolds explains, many boomers equate familiar brands with certainty and quality assurance. It's not just about status. They genuinely believe those brands deliver superior products. Meanwhile, Gen Z entered the consumer marketplace with unprecedented access to information. Before making purchases, they typically spend 2 to 3 hours researching options online, reading reviews from strangers they trust more than traditional advertising. A recent Consumer Behavior Institute study found that 76% of Gen Z shoppers read at least 6 reviews before purchasing even moderately priced items, while 68% regularly compare 3 or more alternatives. This research-driven approach manifests across multiple categories. In fashion, many Gen Z consumers alternate between thrifting and fast fashion based on the specific item, reserving premium spending only for pieces with genuine durability or unique design elements. Electronics purchases focus on feature comparisons rather than brand loyalty, with 64% reporting they would switch from their current brand if a competitor offered better functionality at a similar price point. Perhaps most telling is the household essentials category, where a Nielsen market analysis revealed Gen Z is 3.4 times more likely than boomers to purchase store brands for staples like cleaning supplies, paper goods, and pantry items. These choices typically save 20 to 40% compared to name brands, adding up to approximately $1,400 annually for the average household. What's particularly interesting is when these value-seeking behaviors clash with another Gen Z priority: ethical consumption. According to marketing expert Sophia Williams, Gen Z will abandon even their favorite value brands if they discover problematic labor practices or environmental issues. They expect transparency at every price point. This combination of value-seeking and ethical consumption creates a dynamic where Gen Z consumers will pay more, but only when they believe the premium directly translates to tangible benefits, whether functional improvements or alignment with their values. The financial impact of these behaviors is significant. When comparing typical household spending across categories including clothing, electronics, personal care, and home goods, the value-based purchasing approach saves approximately 15 to 30% annually compared to brand-loyal shopping habits. For a household spending $20,000 yearly across these categories, that translates to $3,000 to $6,000 in savings. Financial educator Marcus Thompson summarizes this shift. Gen Z understands something fundamental that previous generations often missed. Brand premiums aren't always connected to proportional quality increases. They're willing to pay more for genuine improvements, but not for perception alone. Remote work, the hidden financial advantage. That value-hunting mindset extends beyond products to something many of us take for granted: the daily commute to work. Think about it. When was the last time you calculated exactly how much money you're spending just to physically be at your job? For Gen Z, the office itself has become another premium they're not willing to pay for without good reason. The shift to remote work isn't just about avoiding morning traffic or working in pajama pants. For Generation Z, it represents a calculated financial strategy that many boomers never considered. While previous generations accepted the commute as an unavoidable part of professional life, today's young professionals are running the numbers and realizing they've been paying a significant work tax just to show up at an office. Let's break down what a traditional 5-day office commute actually costs. Transportation alone, whether gas for your car or public transit passes, typically runs between $100 to $300 monthly. But that's just the beginning. Car commuters face additional hidden expenses through accelerated vehicle depreciation, more frequent maintenance, and higher insurance premiums for those higher mileage counts. Then, there's the professional wardrobe. That collection of office-appropriate clothing, shoes, and accessories costs the average worker over $1,000 annually to maintain. Not to mention the daily lunch runs that seem harmless at $10 to $15 per meal, but add up to a staggering $2,400 to $3,600 each year. Factor in smaller expenses like coffee purchases, parking fees, and the occasional happy hour, and the financial burden becomes even clearer. Financial analyst Rebecca Torres puts it perfectly. When I show clients the true cost of commuting to work, they're genuinely shocked. Most people have never calculated that they're effectively paying thousands of dollars each year for the privilege of sitting in an office. For a typical urban professional, that figure often exceeds $4,000 annually. This calculation hasn't escaped Gen Z's notice. In fact, workplace flexibility consistently ranks among their top priorities when evaluating job opportunities. Dr. Michael Park, a workplace economist, notes, Gen Z approaches job offers with a sophisticated total compensation mindset. They factor in not just the salary, but the complete financial picture, including commuting costs saved through remote options. Many will accept slightly lower salaries in exchange for remote flexibility because they understand the real math involved. Beyond the direct savings, remote workers can also benefit from home office tax deductions, reduced food costs through home meal preparation, and fewer impulse purchases. They're also saving something equally valuable: time. The average American commuter spends 54 minutes daily traveling to and from work, which translates to nearly 10 full days per year spent just getting to the workplace. Career coach Eliza Washington observes, When I work with Gen Z clients, they're incredibly strategic about how they allocate both their money and their time. They recognize that every hour spent commuting is an hour not spent on side hustles, learning new skills, or simply enjoying life. They're quantifying these opportunity costs in ways previous generations rarely did. The total financial impact is substantial. Depending on location and circumstances, remote workers typically save between $5,000 annually compared to their office-bound counterparts. This represents an effective tax-free raise of 8 to 15% for the average worker, no promotion required. The DIY revolution, skills over services. That same financial savvy extends beyond workplace flexibility to everyday challenges. Ever wondered why your Gen Z neighbor is under her car on Saturday morning instead of at the repair shop? The answer reveals a fundamental shift in how younger generations view the relationship between money, skills, and independence, one that's reshaping traditional service industries and putting an extra $3,000 to $5,000 back in their pockets annually. When something breaks in a boomer household, the typical response is reaching for the phone. Need an oil change? Call the mechanic. Leaky faucet? Time for a plumber. Computer acting up? Better contact tech support. This instinct makes perfect sense for a generation raised when specialized knowledge was locked away in trade schools and professional training. Gen Z, however, approaches these situations with a completely different mindset. Before spending a dime on professional services, they're asking, could I learn to do this myself? This isn't just about being frugal. It represents a fundamental reframing of skills as valuable assets worth acquiring. Take basic car maintenance. While previous generations might automatically schedule routine service appointments, many Gen Z car owners are changing their own oil, replacing air filters, and even tackling more complex repairs with the help of detailed YouTube tutorials. These seemingly simple skills save $300 to $500 annually on basic maintenance alone. Home repairs follow a similar pattern. Instead of immediately calling a handyman for minor issues, Gen Z homeowners and renters are installing their own shelving, fixing toilets, and managing basic electrical work like replacing outlets or fixtures. These DIY fixes typically save $500 to $1,000 yearly, compared to hiring professionals for every small project. The kitchen presents another major opportunity for skill-based savings. By learning fundamental cooking techniques instead of relying on takeout, meal delivery services, or pre-prepared foods, Gen Z saves an estimated $2,000 to $3,000 annually, while often eating healthier, more personalized meals. What we're seeing is a complete democratization of knowledge, explains Dr. Emily Rodriguez, consumer behavior researcher. Information that was once gatekept by professionals or required formal apprenticeships is now freely available through online communities, video tutorials, and skill-sharing platforms. This accessibility has transformed what used to be intimidating technical challenges into approachable weekend projects. Platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and specialized forums provide step-by-step guidance that makes previously complex tasks manageable for beginners. Beyond the immediate financial benefits, this DIY approach creates a powerful compounding effect over time. Each new skill becomes a permanent asset that continues providing value. Learning basic plumbing at 22 might save hundreds on a single repair, but the ability to handle similar issues over decades can translate to thousands in lifetime savings. There's also the confidence factor. When you've successfully tackled several DIY projects, you develop what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to handle new challenges. This confidence extends beyond specific skills to a general sense that you can figure things out independently. For Gen Z, learning to change your oil isn't just about saving $50, notes financial educator Jason Martinez. It's about developing the mindset that you can acquire valuable skills on demand. That perspective transforms how they approach almost every financial decision. This doesn't mean younger generations never hire professionals. Rather, they're more strategic about when to DIY and when to outsource. Complex tasks with significant safety risks, or those requiring specialized tools, often still warrant professional help. The difference is in the deliberate decision-making process rather than the automatic outsourcing. What's particularly fascinating is how these practical skills have become a form of social currency. Gen Z often exchanges knowledge through friend groups, with someone who knows basic car repair trading skills with a friend who understands home electrical systems. This practical strategy number 3, the automation discipline balance. Beyond intentional purchasing lies an even more powerful wealth-building secret, one that combines the best of both generations. It's not just about making smarter spending decisions, but creating a system that makes smart decisions automatic while still keeping you in the driver's seat. Let's be real, nobody has unlimited willpower. Even the most disciplined boomer eventually gets tired of manually tracking every expense and transfer. And while Gen Z loves their automated tools, complete hands-off automation can lead to financial disengagement. The sweet spot? What I call the automation discipline balance. Think of this approach as having a financial autopilot that still needs a pilot's oversight. Financial researcher Dr. Layla Jameson found that people who strike this balance typically save 30 to 50% more than those who rely exclusively on either willpower or automation alone. Why? Because this hybrid approach works with your psychology instead of against it. Here's what the framework looks like in practice. First, automate your essential financial behaviors, the ones that build wealth consistently. Set up automatic transfers to your savings on payday, schedule investment deposits to happen without your involvement, and create automatic bill payments for fixed expenses. This ensures your most important financial moves happen regardless of motivation or memory. But automation without oversight can be risky. That's why the second component is equally important: scheduled check-ins and conscious decision points. Financial advisor Jordan Martinez recommends quarterly financial reviews where you evaluate your automated systems and make intentional adjustments. You want technology working for you, not replacing your judgment, Martinez explains. This balanced approach prevents the two most common financial pitfalls. For boomers, it eliminates the exhaustion that comes from micromanaging every financial decision manually. For Gen Z, it prevents the set-it-and-forget-it mentality that can lead to missed opportunities for adjustment and growth. Let me share how Alex implemented this system and transformed her finances. She started by automating 3 core behaviors: 15% of her income going straight to retirement accounts, $300 monthly to her emergency fund, and $150 to a vacation fund. She then set up spending alerts for categories where she tended to overspend, like dining out. The magic happened when she combined this automation with quarterly financial check-ins. During these reviews, she evaluated her investment allocations, adjusted her automated transfers based on changing goals, and reviewed her spending patterns from the previous months. The automation handles my day-to-day discipline, Alex explains, while the quarterly reviews give me control over the big picture. Want to implement this yourself? Start with these steps. 1. Identify your non-negotiable financial behaviors: saving, investing, bill payment. 2. Set up automatic transfers and payments for these core activities. 3. Create spending alerts for categories where you tend to overspend. 4. Schedule quarterly financial reviews on your calendar with specific review questions. 5. During reviews, focus on adjustments rather than daily management. The beauty of this system is its flexibility. If you're more tech-savvy, you might use sophisticated apps that provide detailed analytics. If you prefer simplicity, even basic automated bank transfers combined with calendar reminders can create the same effect. According to behavioral economist Dr. Eliza Fernandez, this balanced approach creates a psychological safety net. You're not relying solely on fragile willpower or completely surrendering control to automation. Instead, you're leveraging technology for consistency while maintaining meaningful engagement with your finances. The payoff is remarkable. Survey data from Financial Wellness Institute shows people using this balanced approach consistently achieve 35% higher savings rates compared to those relying solely on manual methods. Over decades, this difference can translate to hundreds of thousands in additional wealth. The early start advantage, Gen Z's secret weapon. Time might be money, but in the world of compound interest, time is actually a superpower. Think about this. A 13-year-old who saves just $20 a month will likely outperform someone who starts saving $200 monthly in their 30s. This mathematical advantage explains why Gen Z's early financial awareness might be their greatest wealth-building asset. While previous generations typically postponed serious financial planning until establishing their careers, Gen Z has broken this pattern entirely. Financial education consultant Emily Reeves points out, today's teens are beginning their financial journeys a full decade earlier than their parents did. They're not waiting for their first real job to start thinking about investing. The numbers behind this early start are nothing short of staggering. Consider this calculation. If you invest $100 monthly, starting at age 15, by age 65, you'll have approximately $1.2 million, assuming a 9% average market return. Wait until 30 to begin the same investment schedule, and your nest egg shrinks to around $440,000. That's not a small difference. It's life-changing money created simply by starting earlier. What's driving this shift? Access to financial information plays a crucial role. Unlike their parents who needed to schedule appointments with financial advisors or wade through dense books, Gen Z accesses engaging financial education through platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and specialized learning apps. Financial educator Zoe Martinez notes, the average teen today has watched more hours of financial education content by age 16 than their parents had by age 35. This educational edge is being reinforced through practical application. Youth-focused banking apps like Greenlight, GoHenry, and Step provide real banking experiences with parental oversight, allowing Gen Z to practice financial habits before they're fully independent. These platforms don't just offer debit cards, they include investment options, chore management, saving goals, and educational content, all packaged in user-friendly interfaces. Perhaps most impressive is how Gen Z understands the power of small contributions. Research from Youth Financial Literacy Foundation shows that 65% of financially engaged teenagers believe that consistent small investments outperform delayed larger ones. This understanding of compound growth fundamentals gives them an intuitive edge in planning. The implications extend beyond individual wealth building. Behavioral economist Dr. Karen Lin explains, early financial engagement creates neural pathways that normalize financial decision-making. Someone who starts at 13 will likely make over 10,000 more financial decisions in their lifetime than someone starting at 25, creating vastly more experience and comfort with money matters. Parents hoping to foster this advantage in their children don't need complicated strategies. Research shows that simply having regular, age-appropriate money conversations increases financial literacy significantly. Financial psychologist Dr. James Holden recommends, start by discussing basic concepts like saving for something special, then gradually introduce more complex topics like investing as they mature. Online communities have further accelerated this trend with teen-focused investing forums, financial literacy challenges, and peer accountability groups flourishing. These spaces allow young people to normalize financial discussions in ways previous generations never experienced. The most profound aspect of this early start advantage is its accessibility. Unlike many wealth-building strategies that require significant capital or connections, starting early is available to virtually anyone. A teenager investing just $10 weekly from babysitting or allowance money is mathematically positioned to outperform someone starting with much larger contributions a decade later. Financial independence, redefining success. Building wealth early isn't just about having more money, it's about having more options. For Gen Z, the ultimate status symbol isn't what you own, but rather what you don't need to do. Let's explore why financial independence, not material possessions, has become the new definition of success for an entire generation. When you ask someone from the baby boomer generation about their vision of financial success, you'll likely hear about owning a beautiful home in a prestigious neighborhood, driving a luxury vehicle, or reaching an impressive job title. These traditional markers of prosperity were visible, tangible symbols that communicated status to others. But ask a Gen Z about their financial goals, and you'll hear something completely different. For this generation, freedom is the new wealth, explains financial psychologist Dr. Amelia Martinez. They're less interested in impressing others with possessions and more focused on creating lives where they control their time and choices. This shift is most clearly seen in the growing popularity of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. What started as a niche internet community has evolved into a mainstream financial philosophy embraced by many young people. The core principle is simple. Save and invest aggressively early in life so you can reach a point where working becomes optional, not mandatory. Research from the Institute for Generational Finance shows that 73% of Gen Z respondents ranked freedom to choose how I spend my time as their top financial goal, compared to just 34% of boomers who selected the same option. Meanwhile, only 28% of Gen Z listed owning luxury items as important versus 61% of older respondents. This fundamental difference in defining success leads to dramatically different financial strategies. Instead of stretching budgets to afford status symbols, many young people are making what might seem like unusual choices to outsiders. Take housing, for instance. While previous generations viewed home size as a key indicator of success, many Gen Z individuals are deliberately choosing smaller living spaces in walkable areas, prioritizing location and flexibility over square footage. A study by Urban Housing Trends found that 67% of Gen Z homebuyers would choose a smaller home in a vibrant location over a larger home in a less connected area. Career choices follow a similar pattern. Rather than climbing traditional corporate ladders, many young professionals are creating portfolio careers that combine multiple income streams. This approach values flexibility and skill development over job titles or office prestige. I could make more money at a traditional law firm, but I'd lose control of my schedule, explains Jordan, a 28-year-old legal consultant who combines freelance work with part-time consulting. I'm saving almost 60% of my income and investing it. My goal isn't to be rich in my 60s, it's to have enough by 40 that I can choose projects based only on interest, not necessity. What's particularly interesting about this redefined vision of success is that it often requires less money than the traditional status-based approach. Financial independence calculations typically aim for savings of 25 to 30 times annual expenses rather than achieving specific income thresholds. By focusing on reducing unnecessary expenses while maintaining quality of life, many young people find they need far less than they initially assumed. A couple practicing minimalism and prioritizing experiences might determine they need $40,000 annually for a comfortable life, meaning financial independence could be achieved with a nest egg of approximately $1 million. Substantial, but attainable through consistent saving and investing. The psychological benefits are significant too. A study in the Journal of Financial Wellness found that individuals pursuing financial independence reported 42% higher life satisfaction scores than those chasing traditional status markers, even when controlling for income levels. Intergenerational learning, the financial conversation starter. While pursuing financial independence brings greater life satisfaction, the trickiest financial hurdle might be sitting across from you at the holiday dinner table. Think about it. What if money conversations with your parents or grandparents could become opportunities for growth instead of sources of tension? The generational divide in financial approaches doesn't have to create conflict. It can actually become your secret weapon for better money decisions. Let's be honest, most intergenerational money talks quickly devolve into eye-rolling or lectures. The older generation might question your subscription choices while you question their brand loyalties. But these conversations fail because they're framed as debates to win rather than exchanges to learn from. Financial therapist Dr. Catherine Nelson explains it perfectly. When financial conversations start with "you should" instead of "I'm curious," they're already headed for conflict. Different generations experienced entirely different economic realities, so their financial instincts developed in response to different challenges. The solution isn't avoiding these conversations. It's transforming how we approach them. What works is creating a framework built on curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of trying to convince your parents that your approach is better, ask questions that unlock their wisdom while sharing your perspective. Try these conversation starters next time money comes up. What's the best financial decision you ever made? I'd love to learn from what worked for you. Looking back, what would you do differently with your money if you could? What's something about money that surprised you most as you got older? How did your parents talk about money with you? Was it different from how we discuss it? These questions work because they invite reflection rather than defensiveness. They acknowledge the expertise of experience while creating space for new perspectives. When navigating those inevitable sticking points, like whether to pay off low-interest debt or invest, try using the perspective flip technique. When your parent insists you should pay off your mortgage early, respond with, "I'm interested in understanding why that approach worked well for your generation. The calculations I've run show investing might work better in today's environment. Would you be willing to look at those numbers with me?" Timing matters too. Holiday dinners might not be the ideal setting for deep financial discussions. Instead, create intentional, one-on-one moments when both parties are relaxed. Financial coach Miranda Zhang suggests coffee conversations work better than dinner debates. The informal setting reduces the pressure, and the time limitation prevents conversation fatigue. When your parent shares a money strategy that worked for them, acknowledge it before offering your approach. That makes perfect sense for when you were starting out. The economy has changed so much since then. I'm trying to adapt those same principles to today's reality. These intergenerational conversations often reveal surprising insights. Kara, 27, discovered her grandmother had used a version of subscription rotation decades before streaming services existed. She and her friends would take turns subscribing to different magazines and share them. "It was exactly the same concept I use with Netflix and Hulu, just with different technology," Kara explains. Similarly, Brian learned his father's brand loyalty wasn't simply about status. It developed from negative experiences with cheaper alternatives that repeatedly failed. This helped Brian refine his own value purchase framework by incorporating durability metrics he hadn't considered. The wisdom exchange works both ways. Many older adults have adopted their children's digital banking strategies after learning how much they were losing to unnecessary fees. One couple, in their 60s, saved over $700 annually after their daughter walked them through setting up a high-yield online savings account. Financial adaptation. The ultimate money skill. These wisdom exchanges reveal something far more valuable than any specific money tip. They highlight a fundamental truth about financial success in the modern world. Ever noticed how the people who thrive financially aren't necessarily those who follow the perfect system, but rather those who can pivot when circumstances change? In a world where economic rules get rewritten every decade, your financial survival might depend less on what you know and more on how quickly you can adapt what you know. Think about what happens when the financial landscape shifts beneath your feet. What worked brilliantly in the 1980s housing market could bankrupt you in 2008. The retirement strategies that built wealth for previous generations now struggle to keep pace with today's economic realities. And those once reliable career paths? Many have disappeared entirely. This is where financial adaptability becomes your secret weapon. It's not just another money skill. It's the meta skill that makes all your other financial knowledge useful when conditions change. Consider what happened to people who rigidly followed the buy the biggest house you can afford advice from the early 2000s. When the housing market collapsed, those with adaptable mindsets could pivot, while those who couldn't adjust faced foreclosure and financial devastation. The cost of financial inflexibility can be staggering. A study by the Federal Reserve found that households unable to adapt during economic downturns typically lose 3 to 5 times more wealth than those who quickly adjust their strategies. During the 2020 pandemic, financially adaptable individuals were 62% more likely to maintain or improve their financial position despite widespread economic disruption. So what does financial adaptability actually look like in practice? Think of it as building a financial immune system rather than following a rigid diet plan. It combines 4 key elements: continuous learning, strategy diversification, regular reassessment, and openness to new approaches. Continuous learning means staying informed about economic trends without getting overwhelmed by financial news. Strategy diversification involves having multiple ways to generate income and build wealth rather than putting all your eggs in one basket. Regular reassessment involves quarterly reviews of your financial approach to see what's working and what isn't. And openness means being willing to try approaches from different generations when they make sense for your situation. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Financial psychologist Dr. Lisa Martinez found that people with high adaptability scores reported 43% less financial anxiety even when facing identical economic challenges. Financial adaptability creates psychological resilience, she explains. When you know you can adjust your approach, financial setbacks become problems to solve rather than disasters to endure. This adaptability also explains why some people came through the Great Recession relatively unscathed, while others with similar resources suffered devastating losses. Those who quickly reassessed their circumstances, adjusted their spending, explored new income sources, and reimagined their financial future maintained stability in an unstable world. One particularly powerful way to build this adaptability is by creating financial decision trees, rather than rigid rules. Instead of saying, always pay off debt before investing, for example, an adaptable approach would consider interest rates, economic conditions, and personal circumstances before deciding the best allocation of resources in that specific moment. So while specific tactics matter, your capacity to update those tactics when circumstances change matters far more in the long run. The people who thrive financially in the coming decades won't be those who memorize today's best practices, but those who can continuously evolve their approach as economic realities shift. Your personal money blueprint. Beyond generational labels. Financial evolution isn't just about adapting to economic shifts, it's about crafting something entirely your own. What if the most powerful money approach isn't found in any generational playbook, but in the unique blueprint you design specifically for your life? Think of it as creating your financial fingerprint, something that reflects your personal values, circumstances, and goals rather than when you happen to be born. When we get caught up in generational stereotypes, the frugal boomer mindset versus the tech-savvy Gen Z approach, we miss something crucial. These labels can be useful starting points, but they become limitations when followed blindly. Your financial situation doesn't fit neatly into a generational box because you're not just a demographic data point, you're an individual with unique priorities. Creating your personal money blueprint starts with honest self-assessment. Ask yourself what truly matters to me. Is it security and stability, freedom and flexibility, community impact? Your answers form the foundation of your approach. Someone valuing security might adopt more boomer-inspired saving habits, while someone prioritizing flexibility might lean into Gen Z's gig economy strategies, regardless of their actual age. Financial advisor Rachel Kim explains this concept perfectly. Your money blueprint should be as unique as your fingerprint. Two people with identical incomes can have completely different, optimal financial strategies based on their values, risk tolerance, and life goals. The next step involves evaluating different financial strategies without generational bias. Think of it as creating a financial buffet. You're free to select approaches from any generation that align with your personal circumstances. Maybe you combine a boomer's discipline for retirement saving with Gen Z's strategic approach to debt. Or perhaps you pair silent generation frugality with millennial investment tech. Take Maya, a 42-year-old teacher who combined her boomer parents' emphasis on home ownership with Gen Z's subscription rotation strategy and side hustle mentality. I stopped trying to follow my parents' exact playbook or what financial influencers my kids' age were doing, she explains. Instead, I cherry-picked the approaches that made sense for my specific situation. The result? Maya achieved financial stability years earlier than colleagues following more traditional paths. Testing different approaches is crucial to developing your blueprint. Try implementing one new strategy at a time, giving it enough space to show results. Perhaps you experiment with automating your savings, a Gen Z favorite, for 3 months, then evaluate if it improved your financial situation. This experimental mindset allows you to refine your approach based on real results rather than assumptions. Your financial blueprint should also evolve as your life changes. What works in your 20s might need adjustments in your 40s. The key is developing the skill to evaluate which strategies serve your current circumstances, regardless of which generation popularized them. Dr. Vanessa Washington, a financial behavior specialist, recommends a simple starting exercise. Create 3 columns: working well, not working, and want to try. Under each, list aspects of your financial life without thinking about generational approaches. This honest inventory becomes the foundation for your personalized strategy. This customized approach empowers you to take control of your financial future, regardless of when you were born. It frees you from the limitations of thinking you must follow your parents' path simply because it worked for them, or feeling pressure to adopt every new financial trend because it's popular with younger generations. And here we are. After exploring the financial wisdom of both generations, the truth is pretty clear. It's not about picking Team Gen Z or Team Boomer. It's about creating your own financial playbook that works specifically for you. Financial wisdom isn't something any generation has exclusive rights to. The best approach comes from having the curiosity to learn from different perspectives and the courage to chart your own course. Whether it's the long-term consistency that many boomers exemplify, or the tech-savvy efficiency that Gen Z brings to the table, the habits that will serve you best are those that align with your personal values and today's economic realities. Your financial journey doesn't need to happen overnight. Start by implementing just one strategy we've discussed today. Maybe it's auditing your subscriptions or applying the value purchase framework to your next big buy. Then build from there, one habit at a time, until you've crafted a financial approach that's uniquely yours. That's how real financial evolution happens.